Now if you see this new thing from Rlaarlo and think it might be the Losi Lasernut, I wouldn't blame you. But I'm actually not holding it really close to the camera to make it look huge. This is actually a 1/12 scale. It's a bit of a shameless copy, unfortunately, even down to the BF Goodrich tires, although they're not branded. Nothing on here is branded except to say Rlaarlo. Sorry to start with the criticism, especially since they sent me this one for free to review, but I'm not a huge fan of that because Rlaarlo's been making some amazing stuff recently, and to rest on the R&D of another company so shamelessly kind of sucks, guys. That's the bad out of the way. If you can bear to stick with me for the rest of this, it gets a lot better, a lot better. This is an alloy machine with lovely big puffy tires. It's an interesting design too, because it's a split diameter. The inside of the wheels are actually quite large, and the outside are much smaller. That's actually typical for this kind of truck. It's a hinging top. Now you might see I also have a little receiver on here. We'll get to that in a minute. But it's a brushless system. It's a 3100 kV brushless motor with a 45 amp ESC, a fast servo, 4-wheel drive, shaft-driven all-wheel drive system, very loose diffs, and very big plush suspension. And in a first, as far as I can tell from Rlaarlo, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is my 6th Rlaarlo car, and 5 of them are different models. In a first for them, the sway bars actually seem to work. The model is AM-D12, but that is not anywhere to be seen on the box or even in the included manual, which does have exploded parts diagrams. Now remember, the 14th and the 12th scale buggies we've had before have been spectacular, like really durable. They're using a lot of the same parts, which is great news for spare parts. Oh, now just a quick note, since we're at the start of the video. There's a bit of a fiasco in April and May this year, 2023. Parts just weren't available from Rlaarlo. And some of us, me included, ended up waiting, I think 9 or 10 weeks just for even cars. They tell me that they've fixed that, and I've made 3 separate orders now. One was a roller and 2 were some other parts packages that I've had. Each of those was shipped within a day or 2, and I got them within a week or so to Australia. So we're closer to China than most of you watching from USA, but I understand their shipping has been fixed. So make of that what you will. Although this is a sponsored video, I paid for those things with my own money, just like I've paid for one of the Rlaarlo cars with my own money because I liked it so much. That was the AK917, the fast cars. We did a whole speedrun fail series. You can see that whole fail montage on my channel. But this gets us back a little bit more to their roots, which is their off-road roots. There's a lot that's very similar in this to the 14th and 12th scale buggies that we've played with in the past, and their first monster truck that I also reviewed. One thing I like about this is that it gives you that nice longer wheelbase. It gives you the same reliable brushless system inside, which is actually quite good, combined with the Dumbo RC radios that they're now using, thank goodness for that, with corrected routing for the antenna, so that's great as well. And even though it doesn't come with a gyro, I stuck an X6FG. This is like a $12 receiver. It's compatible with this because it's Dumbo RC. I tested it just before. So you bind it just by pressing the button, and it binds with this when you turn it on. Press the little bind button 3 times after it's been turned on and gyro is activated. And then we've got gyro in this for 12 bucks. So there is a lot to like about this. Lovely big plush suspension. This wheel came not attached and I've just attached it on. There's a lot more to do with hinging. There's the hinged body system here. There's also a hinged concussion bar up the front, which I don't know is actually on the Lasernut. The plastic itself bends at the front, but this bit here bends in. So that's actually really nice to see. This thing will take some nice, nasty implants into the ground. And it is actually quite a good system. It's adjustable oil-filled aluminium suspension. It is plastic mixed with alloy on the inside, and the main strengthening member from tower to tower is plastic, but it's a nice shaped plastic. It's got channels on it as well. It sits right over the I should pull out that other receiver. It sits right over the drive shaft in the middle there, which is also alloy. They use dog bones throughout, and the whole thing is actually really quite stiff, like quite stiff. Although it's kind of heavy, I think this will actually do all right off-road. First, I'm going to stick a GPS on it. We're going to see what it's like on-road on 2S and 3S. It is 2S and 3S compatible, and it comes with a 2800 milliamp hour 2S battery. So it's actually a fairly solid package, and I think it's something like $160 US, which is a surprisingly good deal. There's a light bar up the top that fires. These two are red on the Lasernut. These are not lit up at all on this car. There's no inclusion, there's no way to even place lights in that, but they've kind of copied it even down to these mirror things. Yeah, that really is my only gripe with this car, because it's absolutely stunning otherwise. Now this thing comes with some spare body pins, some basic tools, the box wrench for the wheels. You got a spare motor and fan heatsink combo. This already comes with a heatsink, and if you're running on 2S, that'll be fine. The fan might be helpful for 3S, especially if you gear it up. And we also have what appears to be some cast. They're not aluminium, but they're cast knuckle and caster blocks. Yeah, it's a nice upgrade. They're heavier. I'm going to keep them plastic until they break, if they break. But there's a link in the description for the X6FG, G for gyro, and it's compatible with most Dumbo RC radio systems. The way these work is there's a little bind button there. When you first turn it on, press it after it's turned on and the green light will start flashing. Then you turn this on and then they're bound. This can bind to an unlimited number because there's no memory. Then you turn it off, turn it on again, press it 3 times and the green light turns to red and then orange whenever the gyro is active. You can't adjust how strong the gyro is, but it's, I think, about a 50% across the board for rates. And I think that'll be a little bit too much, but it'll be okay. So that's $12 to get this thing with gyro. Otherwise, it's the stock layout that we've come to love. 3 different colors. Well, it's got 6 colors here, but there are 3 main colors. They're shipping most of them in red. I asked for that, but they said there's a few weeks lead time on it, so they sent the yellow one. But you should be able to get this fella as well in future, and they may expand that depending on the popularity of the model. Now, they claim 50 to 70 kilometers an hour. 50 probably with 2S battery and 70 probably with 3S battery. Given the larger diameter wheels, I'd be inclined to believe it. Let's see what we do with the bigger wheels, because that having bigger wheels rather than the small buggy wheels is the same kind of thing as having a big opinion, because your final drive ratio is slightly higher. Slightly lower, so gets us a higher top speed. Let's hit the road, see what we think. Right, we'll start with a peak speed test. We're on peak speed, record, and yep, we got signal. Okay, this is an off-road car, we're on 3S here. That's surprisingly stable, even when it got out of shape. That wasn't bad. Right. That was 53. There we go. It's an easy radio to trim. I like that. All right. Oh, steering's still out. Yeah, that's better. Oh, we're going for a walk. Jeez. We got it to 78 k an hour. Now the box only claims 50 to 70, so 78 is not bad. And it flipped and rolled from 80. All that happened was this popped out. But it only flipped when I started to brake. And it dives kind of like a desert truck, which, oh look, it is. So not surprising. But what is surprising to me, at least, is the battery stayed in. There's no side strap, it's just this one strap. So if you pick it up, it does come out. This thing flipped and flipped and flipped and it didn't come out. And that's with a heavier 3S. So that's not bad. The only thing that broke, well, it didn't break, but this rod end popped off. Let's see if you can see that. This rod end popped off from the steering bell crank. That's all it is. You can unscrew it, or I'll just use pliers to snick it back in. That's not bad, and that wasn't with a completely full battery either. I found I didn't need the gyro. It's not installed, and again, that X6FG could be installed to give you gyro control. I don't know that it was actually needed. It flipped when I braked a little bit too hard, that's all. And that's the only time I'll ever use it on tarmac. This is an off-road car. Don't buy it if you want an on-road car. Look at the AK 917. That's a good car. Right, well, we might have a bash now with 2S and get it dirty because it's a rainy day. Let's have some fun with it in stock form. Like anything of this shape, its center of gravity leaves something to be desired. But that's, I mean, at a low speed, that's not bad. What about at a higher speed? I tried to accelerate out of that. Now this has happened again. This has happened twice. When I braked and it rolled on the road, the other end of this popped out. Today it's popped out from the steering side. If anything's going to break, you want it to be this, because it's not actually broken, it's just popped off. Needle nose pliers. There we go. You do have to watch your throttle because when it's in the air, the nose will drop or raise depending on your speed. And so you've got to be ready to accelerate or brake. And that higher center of gravity does work against you sometimes. But if you're mindful, I mean, it takes a tumble. Honestly, that concussion bar is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now. Let's get it down to the dirt and let's just see how that goes. My feeling so far is that this thing really wants to be geared slightly lower, so it's just a small opinion. I think a small opinion could make a good difference. Now, I haven't really cleaned off twigs and stuff off this track because the wheels under this thing, oh good. They're big enough. Ooh. They're big enough that these twigs and stuff won't give it a problem like buggies and stuff. Well, this wattle is in full bloom down here at the moment. End of winter. Oh, stay on the wheels. No, walk of shame. It jumps pretty nicely. Now the diffs are very open. So once you're up on two wheels, I tried to accelerate to bring it back down and it didn't want to. But just for bashing about and having some fun, yeah, this thing's a laugh. Still getting used to the throttle profile. I think we're seeing the biggest weakness of this design, and that is being top heavy. It's going to end up on its lid quite a bit. I mean, it's a forgiving car, but what I'm getting to is it's going to take some practice to get it to fly nicely. I had to give it some throttle then just to bring the nose down, and then again to bring it up rather. It does recover all right if you're not ham-fisted on the throttle. I do wonder whether adding some heavier silicon to the front diff could help. Wow, because it just goes. It's actually quite good. We've still got four-wheel drive. Yep, I haven't gone over about half throttle yet either. Certainly the nippy throttle is still there. It's a 25C sustained burst. And I mean, it seems to be well matched for the battery. I had a 2000 milliamp hour 25C 3S in it yesterday on this, doing the speed run. But yeah, I mean, this is, it does crash with some aplomb. It would be nice to see tighter steering, but if you want to steer more tightly, you just slow down and it does that. What I'm seeing here is a durable little machine. Its weakness might be in that steering link, but that's a preferential weakness to something breaking. So for just bashing about here, it is quite fun. Over summer, which, I mean, this is winter right now, but over summer I've spent many hours on the little bumps from just before the previous camera angle, just driving cars of various sizes around this track, and this is the track here. A gyro could be helpful. Goodness me. Yeah, I think a gyro would be helpful for someone like me, and maybe if that's you as well, with experience, but maybe not amazing technique. It will help keep it straight. But I've spent many hours punting trucks around this course, and it's the ones with the slightly bigger wheels like this that are actually more fun, I think. Some of Rlaarlo's buggies, they'll do this track, but they'll complain about it. Air Authority's not bad. They'll do it, but they'll complain because their little wheels means the rocks on this track will catch things out. Now, 2S is actually a good match for this buggy because I still haven't gone to full speed yet. Except then when I want to correct the nose and bring it down. So the battery's fading a little bit now, but that's all right. Now, the last thing to show you is waterproofing. Let me show you. Is this car waterproof? Well, it's on right now. All in the receiver there, all over the ESC and the fan. Turns out no, it is not. We lost juice then. You're probably laughing now. That's all right, you can laugh, that was funny. I've had this receiver before and I know it to be waterproof. I don't know if the servo is, I kind of hoped it was. The receiver I was trusting had conformal coating, but given we lost power after a moment, I'm thinking maybe no. But I knew this was a possibility when I ran water into it while it was on. It could be that it turned off then because the fan got stalled out by the water, and because it's being powered from the ESC, that might have from the receiver, that might have caused the problem. So we just filled it with water, and we're good. So I think I was pretty sure it was. The receiver is actually waterproof. Certainly, I'm just tipping water out of the receiver right now. I'm seeing it come out. So they've used conformal coating, which is kind of like varnish over the main EEPROM, which is like the brain of the receiver. We've got power the whole time. Since we're talking, I'll just turn this off so you can hear me. I like that power button works both ways. Many ESCs, they'll let you turn it on, but they won't let you turn it off. All right, I like that you can add a gyro to this thing for about 12 bucks. Again, the X6FG, link in the description. The main weakness with this buggy is actually really minor, and that is that this strap is not great. The battery has come out. It was out just then, I noticed, when we pulled the lid off after jumping around. If you cut a hole on the inside of it, run a strap up around the battery, then down the outside and back in through that hole, then you've got a cross holding the battery in. That will be a smart move. The receiver has an antenna that just sits straight along the back of the body here. Rlaarlo learnt their lesson from the AK917. You might remember from my original review, an honest AK917 review, I had constant cutout problems on the track, and that was solved by simply changing how the antenna was bundled together. They've learnt that lesson, and clearly it's been applied here. If you get this, consider putting heavier silicone oil in the front diff. I mean, you could do it in the rear as well, but I think the front will help it kind of pull straight. That's arguably cheaper. I mean, Kevin Talbot's answer of he uses silicone earplugs. I mean, you could jam even just one of those into the front diff and that would probably be enough. You just want it to be firm, but otherwise I would probably go, I don't know, a couple of 100,000 K or something, and I think it'll tighten it up nicely, because that's loose enough that it's constantly searching for direction. The wheels and tires are great. Again, my biggest disappointment with this is that it's a blatant rip-off of the Lasernut from Losi, the 110 size, even down to the wheels. They haven't got branding on it, but it's just clear that they've copied it. The concussion bar is their own design, it appears, or at least a different design. I like this little hinge system. The Lasernut does it slightly differently, but I mean, similar. There's not a lot of latitude for design when you're making a truck like this, but still, a copy. Come on, guys. The shocks are very nice. They haven't leaked on me. I bashed around with it yesterday and today now. I like this hinging body system as well. I like the light bar that makes direction easier to spot. I like that we can basically fill it up with water. I just did that, you saw. It turned off when I did it for reasons unknown, but then I tried the power again and look, I mean, it's still good. So nothing that says it's waterproof is ever fully, well, sometimes they are, but usually they're not fully waterproof, but it's, I mean, I can show you that it is. The other thing I really love to see is that they've got the sway bars sorted now. There is actually some response from both sides at each end. It's taken them until now. I've got, what do we got? The 005, the 006, the X12 buggy, so there are 3 cars there. Then the AK917s, they all had sway bars. None of them really worked. This one, the sway bars finally work. There is actually some movement. When I pull this up, there's movement on the other side. That's what you want to see. The sway bar is doing its job. I know softer ones could still have an influence, but you want to actually see the other side pull up a bit. You want it fairly, if they're going to have sway bars, you want it to actually be cranking on the other side a fair bit, on a car like this especially. Plenty of clearance, nice big size tires, like the full size spare. I like the room that you've got in here. There is definitely room. I mean, you could move that ESC and put a longer can in there if you needed to. You don't need to. My tips for this would be heavier silicone in the front diff, like stick something in there. Drop a tooth on the pinion. Hopefully it's a 48 dot pitch, and hopefully it's not their Mod 5 that they were using for a while. We want that 48 dot pitch, and then I'll need to check that, but 1 tooth smaller, brilliant. You got spare parts for all this because they've used a lot of the stuff that's the same as their older gear, and they've got full parts now. Rlaarlo ships quickly. I've tested this, like I said, with a few orders now, so that's great. I can't really comment on the R&D side of things because all they've done is resize the thing, but I mean, you can rely on Losi to make some good designs. Whether or not it sits with you ethically to pay for this one, that's up to you. But if you want a cheap buggy and you're okay with giving Rlaarlo money for Losi's hard work, this is really quite good for this size machine. Get this over the 005, get this over the 006 buggy. They've renamed both of those now, and I can't remember what they are. The longer one, the AM-X12, that's quite good. 3100 kVs, good choice. Nice fast servo, plenty of strength in that. And overall, it's a good package. And I understand it's actually cheaper than I would have thought. It's not a bad machine. Check it out. There's a link in the description. There's a discount code if you use my link as well. My thanks for Rlaarlo for sending me this for review. I hope you don't feel too badly with me pointing out that it's been ripped off from Losi. It's got to be said because it clearly has been. But for what it is, I mean, it's a very nice machine. Thank you for watching, guys. Throw me a like and I'll catch you again real soon right here on RC-TNT. Thank you for watching.